The screams of sheer terror are indeed a valid reaction, Timmy Turner's dad. Who knew that 20 years later the situation would be far more dire and devoid of life? The continuous shrieks from online communities are far too real and no longer satire played for laughs. That's right, my fellow warriors of life. In the creative sphere, we have officially reached the apocalypse. There are plenty of things people have voiced their concerns about, whether it be thought police shutting down opinions that don't fit in with modern ideologies, or news stations perpetuating false narratives, reviving beloved intellectual properties to make terrible reboots and remakes instead of trying to make something original. All are serious problems and concerning reflections of our culture. But I wanted to focus on a topic that no one else seems to get in depth with. This is the matter that the sheer volume of content we have is more of a curse than a blessing.
What? What does that have to do with anything?
No. He's got a point.
There have always been plenty of books and movies to choose from, but the difference was that back in the day, new, original, artistic content was always welcome. People were always hungry to go buy the next book or to see the new movie in theaters. There just never seemed to be enough to meet the demand. More importantly, most people lived their lives and stories were not on the forefront of their minds. Growing up, seeing a movie was a special treat. In fact, getting to watch shows on cable was fun and exciting. But the best part of a new show or movie was that you were guaranteed to encounter lots of people who have also seen the same things. That was my favorite part of media consumption. It was easy to connect with people and begin conversations about it. Finding Nemo came out when I was in kindergarten, and you were hard put to find a single soul who hadn't seen it, let alone never heard about it. Let's face it, you probably would have been considered a loser if you hadn't seen it.
Loser!
Nowadays, even with Pixar's prestige, you could ask the average person what the last movie Pixar had released would have been, and they'd have no clue. Yes, plenty of books, TV shows, and movies already existed in those times, but the big difference is the access to it. There weren't streaming platforms with immense libraries brimming with thousands of titles ready to play at the whim of the subscriber. Buying TV shows on DVD cost a fortune, so most people watched cable with way fewer options. Naturally, you'd be able to go to work the next day, and everyone else likely watched the same shows you had. If you didn't want to buy countless VHS tapes or DVDs, you could rent movies from a Blockbuster or Redbox, and you guessed it, with some variations, everyone knew what was new or popular. And dude, I freaking miss that time. There was nothing better than talking to other kids on the playground about The Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, or Lion King 1.5, because everybody knew what I was talking about. Nowadays, you are forced to go online to create communities with absolute strangers to have a discussion about a beloved IP, because even within a household with the same family members, everyone is watching different things. Art used to unite and bring people together with common interests. Somehow, we see it has become a divisive tool to isolate people even further. The beautiful thing about good art is that it brings people from all walks of life together for discussion. Unfortunately, every aspect of society has been polarized, and now we can't even come together over art because our morals are all fundamentally at battle over one another. So, with the abundance of content, people don't suck it up and just watch what's available like it used to be. Now anyone can go to their own respective echo chambers without being challenged to listen or think about something new, because they get triggered over even the slightest difference of opinion.
We really are losing that American identity because we become so fractured as a culture. And I think where's the movie that we all love, without debate, that we've all loved? Exactly. I don't know that there is one. And that's really, I really, and at the end of the day, I miss loving Star Wars. I miss loving it. I used to love it, and now I'm saddened by that franchise. I'm using that as like the best example. There's a lot of other examples. We could talk about the Terminator franchise. We could talk about Star Trek. We can talk about these sort of dead franchises that have sort of lost their way. But when you look at, like, I just saw a documentary called Laddie, LADDI, about Alan Ladd, the visionary studio executive who basically greenlit Star Wars and protected George Lucas. I'm just afraid we're never going to see another George Lucas, right? We're never going to see another real creative visionary that changes the industry because everything is so corporate. You know, it's like, what did Francis Ford Coppola say? Factory filmmaking. That's the age in which we live. There's factory filmmaking, which is a product and content, and then there's up and coming indie filmmakers. And, you know, when I talked about checking those boxes earlier, a lot of it is like, is it going to appeal international? I mean, let's be honest. The box office internationally, and especially in China, is much bigger than the United States. That market, those dollars. So you can't make a movie for the United States anymore. You have to make a movie for the world, which is fine, but I think in a way that's sort of diluting our identity.
Divisiveness in art. Part of the abundance issue delves into the divisiveness plaguing society. As art became more niche to specific audiences, people slowly drifted apart, even within the same households. That's why we're seeing such a divide between generations and the values they hold. In my philosophy class, my professor asked which of us loved our parents. Not that anyone should be forced to love anyone, but I was alarmed to see only 5 hands go up among the sea of students. Young people indulge content that appeals to them, and boomers will indulge what they like. I already said this before, but the best part of any art, but movies in particular, was their ability to unite audiences. People didn't necessarily have to agree on the quality, but most often the unsaid values of a story is what drove the passion behind the fans' love of the work. Nowadays, even within the few titles people all hear about, the collective audience simply can't agree on anything. No matter whatever values, morals, or even the lack thereof in favor of telling a story, people simply cannot and will not have civil discussions from any side. Politics have seeped so deeply into every aspect of our culture that we can't even watch a stupid advertisement without it exploding into controversy, and a lot of name-calling or finger-pointing. My greatest dream is to once again see artistic expression touching the hearts of people, old and young, male and female, anyone from anywhere, and all these people finding common ground through the work that touched them so. So, what changed? Not to sound like a boomer, but the change happened when social media blossomed. I mean, exploded into a nightmare hellscape. The internet no longer remained in the hands of computer geeks. And holy do I remember the times it took an eternity to load a simple PNG file, but was now easily accessible to the average Joe.
Am I doing this right? Should I update my software?
Hit enter! Hit enter!
Ah, I accidentally ordered 12 Swimmers on Amazon. What did I...
And any old fool who can afford a computer or smartphone. In a lot of ways, this was a wonderful thing for artists and creators at first. It was incredibly difficult to find a publisher to take your book, or to sell paintings, and even sharing opinions on mainstream narratives. The internet has boosted countless businesses and careers by allowing the common man to share their creativity in a much easier way. Sites like YouTube and DeviantArt were able to change the landscape for people to compete with industries that were largely nepotistic and exclusive. Now, regular people such as myself have a chance to even have a voice. Wonderful! Until it's not. The threat to mainstream outlets and movies caused them to find ways to muscle in on the views that began plummeting. There's countless streaming platforms for movies, in addition to theatrical releases. There's Twitch streaming, anime streaming sites, YouTube, and heaven knows what else. Instagram, Facebook, and DeviantArt are swarming with artists who are forced to rely on fan art renditions of popular IPs to keep the revenue flowing while competing with the few people who are able to create their own distinctive style. Amazon and Audible have easy access to every book you can hope for, with many free ebooks to choose from. Quite frankly, we are drowning in so much content that it's any wonder any of us have even remotely heard of the same things. As a film student, it boggles my mind how my professors often reference various films, but are unable to have everyone on the same page because everyone watches different stuff. No matter what my class is, teachers are forced to assign movies, even movies you would think everyone has seen, such as The Lord of the Rings, in order to even have discussions. This is a film school! Holy mackerel! It's no wonder the only titles making money are remakes. What can you expect from an overwhelmed public that can't even use word of mouth to discover good content? So, what does this mean for content creators? The strength that the internet originally gave content creators, in its cruelest irony ever, is that it actually stripped away the ability for artists to not only make money easily from their original work, but even the ability to create original work. People are so overloaded with content that of course they are going to see the remake of popular franchises or click on a YouTube video with a famous IP in the title. My most popular videos on my channel are not my original poems or stories, but my analyses on movies. Heck, my top video is a stupid fake trailer about The Lion King I made for school. Breaking into the film industry is less bleak, but only slightly. Any dreams you have of creating a completely original story are dashed in film school. Quite honestly, the industry is in panic mode right now, because even their reboots and remakes are losing money. People are simply fed up with Hollywood, and the already competitive field is not willing to make financial risks on original content, which makes companies like Disney all the more frustrating when they actually have the means to take risks. There are just too many competitors in every discipline. So, what can you do as a creator? Obviously, you can't live in a bubble where you don't need to make money and just work happily on your creations. If you don't care about being original, go ahead and make your 500th reaction video while you have nothing of significance to add. I know, it's rich coming from a person like me. I think if you truly do make something new, it will always find its audience, even if it's not exactly record-breaking numbers. You just have to be doing it because you enjoy creating. If you're doing these things for money, as your primary motivator and not because you love creating, you're in the wrong profession. At the end of the day, I know there are businesses to run and money that is needed to run them, but remember, as Walt Disney once said, we don't make movies to make money. We make money to make movies. What does this mean for the average consumer? I will truly miss those times when the scarcity of art brought people together, but I have to remember we will never see that again. Not to that extent. Sure, we have conventions and online forums, but they will never be the same. Honestly, the abundance of content is a curse for everyone. Nobody wins. We are watching people become dumber, lazier, and less creative every day because they are allowing the constant voices from the internet to think for them. And I don't know how many videos of people complaining about remakes it's going to take before people realize that it isn't going to change unless we actually do something. The best thing, of course, would be the second coming of our Lord and Savior happening at last, and destroying all the evil things of the world.
This is what you do to them, alright? This is God's work. Go home.
Probably starting with the internet, or people realizing how addictive and time-wasting social media is and deleting it on their own, and using that time to educate their mind. And believe me, I am not trying to shame anybody. I myself have my own issues when it comes to that. If you want things to change in the creative sphere, then use your time and money wisely. You want remakes to stop? Then stop paying to see them! Stop clicking on those videos that say, I watched this so you don't have to. They are also abusing the easy clickbait through name recognition. At the end of the day, all these creative outlets are businesses and will follow the money. If enough of us collectively support original projects when they come out, Hollywood will hear the message loud and clear. The biggest curse of all this content causes us to waste time, lose our own ability to think, and isolate ourselves from others. This is my unpopular opinion, but my strong recommendation is to delete time-wasting apps from handheld devices. If possible, don't even own a touchscreen. Slot specific times for your day that you allow yourself a certain amount of screen time and what things you will look at. I recommend to avoid at all costs in the mornings and definitely not right before bedtime. It is super important to allow your own voice to have some time alone. I promise you that thoughtful media engagement will bring you more peace, less misery, and more time for your own soul to be creative. Stop it from robbing your life of meaning. Instead of content abundance, let your life be abundant with real memories itself. Be content selective. And there you have it, my extremely rambly essay on content abundance. I hope you enjoyed and that this gave you maybe something new to ponder. This has been Rolo Descendant, and thank you for joining me on my adventure. But now it's time for you to go find your own.